Brilliant. Welcome. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the pre-market overview. August 12th. Today is a Wednesday, so happy Wednesday to you guys. So just a reminder, if you didn't already know, my name's Becky. So you can email me, becky@tradewithufos, if you have any questions about what I covered today, and just email me on that. Although the support team, being a team, more people on it, obviously, meaning that it's normally quicker to get to responses. So support@tradewithufos is better to email if you have any questions that you want answered more quickly. Okay, so just to explain what the pre-market overview is for those that maybe have never joined us before. So what we go over is our newsletter. So the newsletter is a document that we send out every single day, Monday to Friday. And on that newsletter, we talk about 4 of the major markets in the world, where we think they're going, how long we think they're going to go that way for, where they could change, volatility, and news as well. So we do the pre-market overview, sort of 15, 20 minutes, where we expand on those concepts, explain it a little bit in a bit more depth for those that might need a little bit more explanation around why we've said what we've said and where that comes from and how we use the technology. Okay, so before we crack on, a couple of things to just remind you guys of. Today being a Wednesday, we have futures and option sessions within the Tradewith channel, 9 a.m. and then 1 p.m. Eastern. Normally on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have stocks and investing sessions, which you can join us on, and sharpening sessions over the weekend. That will be reinforcement of methodology, Q&A, and psychology sessions as well. In terms of psychology, or speaking of psychology, the next live upcoming course that we have is the psychology class. That is August 15th to the 21st. It is so often overlooked, so often something that people put off and don't really care about when they start their trading, because they just want strategy and methodology and clicking buttons. But I would say psychology and managing your trading emotions is something that most traders struggle with, that can lead for most people to just give up or not really be consistent. So if you haven't already looked into trading psychology, I would highly recommend it. If you want to do it with us, then that's where the next class is. So August 15th to the 21st. We then have futures after that, and then trading plans later on in the month. And then this is the first upcoming backtesting class that we have. We also have some other classes as well. You can go to the website to see when they would be. Okay, I just need to put the disclaimer on the screen. It's a long disclaimer, so I'm not going to read it to you. It's there for you guys to read. If you want to mute me and read it as we go, maybe you can read as quickly as that sort of thingy is moving across the screen. You might want to pause it and read it if you want to, or come back and watch the video again and read it again. Or you can go to www.youcantrade.com for additional disclosure information. Now, basically what the disclaimer is saying is that we are showing you ideas and demonstrations. It's not intended as trading advice. There's obviously a risk involved in trading. You need to be aware of that before you place trades, because the risk is your own with your own capital. So just be aware of that. Again, more disclosure information if you want to read it, either by pausing the video or going to the website. Okay, now that we've done that, let's crack on and go through the newsletter. So this is the newsletter that we send out every day. And as I said, we go through 4 of the major markets in the world. So we have the S&P, one of the major equity indexes or indices. We have oil and gold, which are obviously 2 major commodities, and the euro, which when looked at as the euro US dollar, is the highest traded currency pair in the world. In fact, the US dollar just by itself is responsible for about 80% of transactions worldwide every single day. So fair to say, covered quite a lot as to what goes on out there in the markets across these 4 very big, very liquid, very voluminous markets. Now, for each of these markets, we're going through a daily chart. Of course, different things happen on different time frames, but the daily does seem to fall within what most people do, whether you're a short-term day trader or a long-term investor. The daily is often looked at by a lot of people. Now, for each of these markets, we're going to look at various things. We're going to look at climate, which basically tells us the trend, the direction, the environment that we're in. Are we in an upwards move? Are we in a downwards move? And what are the probabilities associated with that? Propagating means if we are in an upwards move, how long can we expect to keep going upwards for? If we are in a downwards move, how long can we expect to keep going down for? Basically, what's statistically likely for this climate to continue in whatever direction? We use the average, the normal, the statistically likely, the probabilities here to tell us on the right-hand side how often that market usually goes in that direction for. And then on the left-hand side, we see how how far we are now into that. So we can see, like for this first one, we are in candle 9 out of typically 10.47. That's how we read that. Nearest UFOs. UFO stands for unfilled orders. That's where we expect there to be buy orders that could push price upwards or sell orders that could push price downwards. And we use our Auto UFO app to find this on a chart for us and show us where those big stacks of orders are likely to be that could turn price if price gets there. I'll show you this on a chart as well. For climate and propagating, we use our Auto Climate app, which tells us where these figures are, gives us the probabilities and the propagating figures. Now, for each of the markets as well, we're going to come down and we're going to look at volatility. Volatility just means how far we expect price to move within given periods of time. So we get our volatility numbers from this column here, current implied volatility. Now, these numbers come from the options of these markets. So options are traded by mainly professional traders, especially in these big markets. So when professional options traders are buying and selling options and therefore setting the price of them, what they're willing to buy and sell them for reflects the risk they're willing to take based on how fast they think these markets will move. So in effect, the current implied volatility numbers show us what professional traders think in terms of volatility. It gives us their opinion in terms of the movement that we could expect. Now, everything when it comes to implied volatility is a percentage, and it's annualized, meaning that we would get an understanding from these numbers as to the movement up or down we would expect in a year as a percentage of its current value. So I'll come back to that a bit later and show you it market by market, and then we'll come down and look at news. Okay, so lots to do. We're going to start with the S&P. This is the first one we're going to look at. We are using $SPX.X. That is the trade station symbol for the SPX.X. There you go, for the index here. Okay, so interesting one now with the S&P. We have pretty much come back to our all-time highs. Not quite, but very, very close, which means we don't have any sell UFOs on the chart. Now, in terms of buy UFOs, we have this one here, which is 3294.61 to 3284.53. And as I said, no sell UFOs. We're coming to the point where we're breaking those all-time highs, meaning there are no sell UFOs. There's no sell orders above us because we've never been here before. And so we can only see buy UFOs on the chart. In terms of climate, we see down here our Auto Climate app. Now, the Auto Climate app shows us one of three things. So it can either show us a thick blue dot that tells us we're in an upwards trend, upwards direction, upwards environment, and that we have probabilities to the upside. It could show us a thick red dot, which tells us that we're in a confirmed downwards climate, confirmed downwards trend. We have probabilities to the downside. Or it could show us a thin dot of either color. The color still tells us the direction, but the fact that it's a thin dot is letting us know that there are less probabilities, meaning most of the time as traders, we're going to choose to do nothing on those days. In this example, we have a thick blue dot, meaning confirmed upwards climate, probabilities to the upside, and as we can see, no sell UFOs at the moment as well. So how long can we expect the S&P to continue to go up for? We have our confirmed upwards climate. We show you that there as a green arrow pointing up, and we can see here that normally the S&P would go up for 11 candles. By the way, everything that's on that right-hand side, I'm going to round it up. Whatever the decimal place is, I'm just going to round it up. So we would expect normally for the S&P to go up for 11 candles, and we're on candle number 9, meaning that we are coming to the end. We've got a couple of days left in terms of statistically what's likely for this market to continue to the upside. However, we now have no sell UFOs that could turn price. Of course, new orders can come into the market. That can happen obviously every day. We can have new orders come into the market and of course push price down. But for the time being, no sell UFOs, probabilities to the upside, and a couple of days left in terms of what is statistically likely for this market to continue to the upside. Now, in terms of volatility, what could we expect in terms of movement? We use $VIX.X, and we see from that we would expect a movement up or down in 1 year of 22.59%. And what that means is per day, we would expect a movement up or down of 47.44 points. In 1 week, we would expect a movement up or down of 104.43 points. And in 1 month, a movement up or down of 217.40 points. So again, that just gives us an idea of how far we're likely to see price move within those given time periods. Okay, so next market, we're going to look at oil. We're going to look at CL. That's the continuous futures contract for oil. Okay, just need to squidge this a little bit so we can see what we need to see. There we go. Let's see if I can unsquidge a bit so we can see those numbers. There we are. Okay, so we've got our ᴾᴿᴱMARKET app once again showing us a thick blue dot. So confirmed probabilities to the upside. Closest stack of buy orders, as highlighted here by our buy UFO, our green UFO. The numbers there are 26.03 to 25.52. Now, of course, we are nestled just on top of another one. There's two on top of each other there, so we can see that overlap a little bit. Closest stack of sell orders, 53.55 to 55.43. Again, that's where we expect there to be sell orders that could push price down if price were to get them. And at the moment, we can see we're kind of maybe slightly closer to the stack of sell orders, but not really close to either of them at the moment. So we're in a confirmed upwards climate. How long can we expect that to continue for? So normally, oil would go up for 7 candles on a daily chart. And we're on candle number 2. So once again, probabilities that climate is likely to continue to the upside. Of course, sometimes things fall outside of probabilities. We've seen, especially in the last couple of weeks, on the next 2 markets, although they have recently changed, that we've seen it go way past what is statistically likely to happen. Sometimes we see it fall short of what is statistically likely to happen. It's not to say it always happens that way. It's just to say that it's more probable to happen that way. And we want to put as many odds in our favor as possible. So at the moment, we have odds for the oil market continuing to the upside for the next few days at least. So again, we'll see. Now, in terms of volatility, we look at OVX.X to get the numbers for that. And we see that we would expect a movement based on professional traders' opinions, up or down in 1 year on oil of 37.50%, meaning a movement up or down in 1 day of 1 point exactly, a movement up or down in 1 week of 2.19 points, and a movement up or down in 1 month of 4.57 points. Okay. So next market, we're going to look at gold. So we're looking at GC, once again, continuous futures contract. Okay, so we've seen gold change very quickly over the last couple of days. So, in fact, sorry if I just move this over a bit, just in case my face is in the way of that there. So we have down here our first red dot for quite a long time. So we have a thick red dot telling us we have confirmed probabilities to the downside. We're in a downwards climate. We have probabilities to the downside. Now, for a long time, we didn't have any sell UFOs above us, and now we do. So we have our closest stack of sell orders just here, formed yesterday by the look of it, at 2039.7 to 2060.8. We have our closest stack of buy orders here, 1836.7 to 1825.9. So as we said, we've just started this move to the downside. We can see our red arrow here telling us that we're in a confirmed downwards climate. And we can see that normally gold would go down for 3 candles in a row, and we're on candle number 1. So again, probabilities to the downside with probabilities that climate is likely to continue for a couple of days. And we have sell UFOs just created, but it doesn't actually look like we're close to it at the moment. We're kind of halfway between our buy UFO and sell UFO. So halfway between big stacks of sell orders and big stacks of buy orders that could turn price. So at the moment, we've got that climate to the downside, and again, probabilities that it may continue. Okay, so in terms of movement, we expect on gold, we look at GVZ.X or GVZ.X if you're American. And we expect a movement up or down in 1 year of 27.48%, meaning in 1 day, a movement up or down of 33.6 points. In a week, a movement up or down of 74 points. And in a month, a movement up or down of 154.1 points. Okay, so moving on to the last market, we're looking at the euro dollar. So that's the spot forex of this market. So let's have a look. Euro USD. Okay, so I'm just going to move it over again. Now we can see here on the bottom of our chart, our ᴾᴿᴱMARKET app is showing us a thin red dot. It might be hard to see the color. Kind of the point being a thin dot means that we don't really need to care about the color because it means there's less probability. Lower probabilities means we often choose to do nothing on these days on the market that shows us an unconfirmed climate. In terms of orders, stacks of orders that could turn price, we obviously have a bunch of buy UFOs, one after the other. I think there's 8, maybe 9 or 10 if we were to scroll down a little bit there. Loads of buy orders underneath us. Closest one is this one here, 1.1597 to 1.1507. Kind of just rounded that to where it needs to be. Closest stack of sell orders, just above us there, 1.1862 to 1.1917. Again, just rounded that where they need to be. Now, like we said, we are in a downwards climate. However, it's unconfirmed. So we would expect normally if the euro US dollar goes down for it to continue for 4 candles on a daily chart, and we're on candle number 2. So halfway into a move to the downside. However, bear in mind, like we said, it's unconfirmed. We show you that here by putting a little cross just next to the arrow to just let you know that it's an unconfirmed climate, and therefore is maybe something you need to be aware of, potentially keep away from. Okay, so in terms of movement on the euro, we use EVZ.X or EVZ.X, and we can see that professional options traders would expect a movement up or down in 1 year on the euro of 7.84%, meaning in 1 day, a movement up or down of 58 pips. In a week, a movement up or down of 128 pips. And in a month, a movement up or down of 266 pips. So again, volatility just gives us an idea of how far we're likely to see price move within given periods of time. The climate and the propagating give us an idea of in what direction we're likely to see that move happen. And the nearest UFOs give us an idea of where price might be likely to turn and change direction. Okay. So we've looked at direct forces, and what we mean by that is that the most direct force that can move price up or down is either buy orders or sell orders. That's all we have. Buying pushes price up, or excess buying and less selling pushes price up. Excess selling and less buying pushes price down. That's the most direct force we have in a marketplace. Now, of course, there can be many reasons as to why there are buy orders or sell orders. So indirect forces such as news is still something that we need to be aware of. But again, just bear in mind, it's not as direct as the orders themselves. So we've had nothing so far this week, but in terms of what we have today, we have at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we have the consumer price index coming out for food and energies. We're getting 2 reports on that. Now, once that report has come out, it will populate in this actual column. So you'll see data in there. At the moment, it's blank because, of course, the report hasn't come out. Now, we get this information from fxstreet.com/economic-calendar, and we filter by high impact news and by US markets. Now, of course, if you trade outside of those parameters, you can go to the website and sort of change about the filters there. So you see the things that suit your trade plan a little bit better. But like we said, if you do trade US markets, or you trade, to be honest, most markets on futures or options or something, be aware that we have some high impact news coming out in the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, so a couple of reminders. If you're not already part of the fund, part of the futures, options, stocks, investing, sharpening sessions, psychology sessions, support, you can join us at tradewithufos.com/you-can-trade. It's a free 14-day access, so you can try us out for a couple of weeks, see if you like us first, and go from there. In terms of upcoming classes, like I said, so important for us to understand the psychological element of our trading. Too few traders put any emphasis on this and therefore struggle as a result. So if you want to learn more about psychology, just go to tradewithufos.com/psychology live. You can see how we put the class together and how that's all done. You can register for any course at the moment and choose an additional for free. So it's kind of a buy one, get one free situation. So you can go to the website, see what we have available, see which classes might make more sense to you. And then obviously just play about with it in such a way where you can make the most out of that deal. Because the second one you pick has got to be of equal or lesser value than the first one. So you can go to the website and play about with it there and see what works better for you. If you have any questions, not just about classes, but about anything I've covered today, the technology that we use, if you're confused about anything, by all means, just email us at support@tradewithufos.com. We're always happy to help. Our team is full of traders, so we're very happy to answer any questions that come in. Otherwise, we'll see you in the futures and options sessions that we have today. If you're coming to us within the Tradictive channel at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, my colleague Boyan will be looking at what did happen in the markets, what went as expected, what didn't go as expected, what can we learn, what can we reflect on from what does happen today. And then I will be back in the morning to go through the overview again for tomorrow. So I hope you have a good trading day. Have a great Wednesday, and I will see you